Hello my dear friends, welcome to our channel Icse Easy Learn. Today we have to continue our chapter the respiratory system. So it's part 2 and we are doing class 9th ICSE biology. So I hope you are very much fine. So let's start with the respiratory organs we have to start. Okay. So the respiratory system in humans consists of air passages. So it consists of air passages, and this you have to learn with very much care. You have to learn it stepwise. Okay, first of all, the air that is entering your body is the place from which it is entering is nose, then pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi. So you must learn the locations of them. Okay, so let's see. So first of all, this is our nose. Okay, this is our nose through which air is entering. After that, this one is the pharynx. This one is the pharynx, and pharynx is the common passage for air and food, because we know that from the nose air is coming, and this is our mouth, and from the mouth we know that food is coming. So pharynx is the common passage for air and food. After pharynx, let me draw. This is your nose. Okay, after nose, here is your pharynx, your mouth and all. Okay, so here is a pharynx common passage, and this pharynx is divided into two tube-like structures. This one is our food pipe. This one is a food pipe, that is esophagus, and this one is a windpipe, that is known as trachea. So we have completed our nose. I have explained to you pharynx is the common passage over here, and now trachea means the windpipe. Okay, trachea means the windpipe. And so this food pipe we have discussed in the digestive system itself. Now let's do trachea. So at the beginning of this trachea there is larynx. Okay, so at the entering there is hair upon it is larynx. Okay, let me draw it clearer so that you may get help. So here, okay, somewhat here there is larynx, and larynx is the voice box from which our voice is coming. Okay, so first of all nose, then pharynx, after that larynx, then our windpipe, that is trachea. After that bronchi. So this trachea is again divided into two bronchi. Okay, bronchi, and this bronchi are again having now lungs. Again lungs. Okay, that is our last portion, that is our lungs. So first of all nose, then pharynx, then larynx, then trachea, then bronchi, and at last lungs. Now let's discuss each of them in detail. So first of all nose, when we are seeing the external part of the nose, then it bears two nostrils, as we all know. So there are two nostrils, and they are separated by a cartilaginous, okay, bone, that is known as septum. Okay, and we all know that there are hairs that are present in our nostrils, and what is the work or the function of the hairs is to prevent large particles from entering the system. Okay, and the two nostrils open into a pair of nasal chamber. What is the nasal chamber? So this is the nose, and this portion, each nostril has a different or has its own nasal chamber. That's why pair of nasal chamber. So this one is the nasal chamber, and the inner lining means the nasal chamber itself has three functions. Let's see the functions of the nasal chamber. First one is that it warms the air. Okay, the air that we are inhaling inside through our nose, the nasal chamber is warming them. Second, it adds moisture to that air. And the third one that is very much important is that the function of the nasal passages that its inner lining secretes mucus. Okay, it secretes mucus. And what is a mucus? Mucus is a slimy substance. Okay, and this mucus entraps harmful substances. Okay, so mucus is slimy in nature, so that's why it traps. Okay, it attracts harmful particles that are entering or that are present in the air which we are inhaling. Okay, so we should always breathe through the nose and not through the mouth. Okay, so it's always advisable to breathe through the nose and not through the mouth, because when we are breathing through our mouth, the the larger particles and the harmful particles directly go into our system or in our body. But when we are breathing through our nose, then these particles so at that time these particles, some large particles are entrapped by our hairs and some by the mucus. Okay, so there is an additional function of the nose, that is to smell, and the sensory cells of the smell are where. So in this chapter there are many locations. Okay, so the sensory cells of smell are located in a special pocket situated high up in the nasal chamber. So in this chapter many locations will come. You must keep them in mind, or you can write that in a notebook. You can make notes over here. Okay, so located, what is the location of the sensory cells of smell? That is high up in the nasal chamber. Okay, or you can simply write near the nasal chamber. Okay, or the at the upper end of the nasal chamber, whatever you want. Okay, so next is that, does the nose help in speaking? Yeah, obviously. So you can try it. You can close your nose by your fingers and try to speak. Okay, you can try to speak Nanaji goes to Nandgram and not Nagpur, etc. So you can try this. Okay, now after a nose it's pharynx. Okay, pharynx is the common passage for our air and we can say food. So the nasal chambers open at the back side of a wide cavity that is known as the pharynx, and what is the location? At the back of the mouth. Okay, and it is a common passage for air and food. It leads into, so this pharynx is divided into trachea, that is windpipe, and food pipe, that is esophagus. And what is the location of esophagus? Now behind the trachea. Okay, and when this esophagus, so see this is a pharynx, so through it food will also come and air will also come, and it is divided into, we have done that, food pipe and windpipe. Okay, so whenever we can say so whenever I'm not eating, okay, I'm just, you can say I'm just breathing. Okay, I'm not eating. So at that time our esophagus will get collapse. Okay, and it closes itself. Why does it collapse? Because it has soft walls, that means we can say easily collapse. Okay, easily they can distend. Okay, but when we are swallowing our food, okay, and there's a chance that that food would enter your windpipe, then there is a flap like structures here which get closed. Okay, and this is known as epiglottis. This is known as epiglottis. Okay, so we can say that when not in use, the food tube is partially collapsed as it has soft walls. Okay, but the trachea is guarded by a flap called epiglottis, and which closes it at the time of swallowing food. Okay, but if there is incomplete closure, or the that epiglottis does not completely close the windpipe, then some food particle goes into our windpipe, and at that time we start coughing. Okay, so that they may come outside. Now after pharynx it's larynx, and larynx is present correctly over here. Let me draw it also with another color. So this one here is your larynx, and this is the voice box. So the larynx or the voice box, popularly we known It has Adam's apple, and we can see this Adam's apple in the boys. Okay, it's apparently seen in them, but we can touch a neck and we can feel while speaking this Adam's apple coming up. And so it is a hollow. Okay, it is hollow cartilaginous structure. That is, what is the location of larynx? It is located at the start of the windpipe. Okay, at the starting of the windpipe, and you can feel it with your fingers. Okay, and you can feel it with your fingers in front part of your neck. Okay, when you swallow something, this part rises and folds. Okay, and the larynx contain two ligamentous folds that are known as the vocal cords. Okay, these are the vocal cords, and when we say that when the air is forcibly exhaled in them, then the air, we can say that it strikes with the vocal cords and the vocal cords start vibrating, and if there is vibration, then there must be sound. Okay, so see, if there is an frequency, or we can say if there is a vibration over here. Okay, so this is a vibration simply, but with the help of our mouth, with the help of our jaw, tongue, cheeks. Okay, with the, we can say, help of our mouth, we change that sound coming from our windpipe into a word. Okay, so that's why they have given you a difference between voice and speech. Okay, difference between voice and speech is that voice is the sound that is produced by the vocal cords, or we can say the vibration produced by them, but speech is a character that is given to that vibration or voice by the complex movements of our lips, cheeks, tongue and jaws. Okay, and speech consists of words and syllables. Okay, so now we have completed a larynx also. Now the trachea. Trachea is simply known it as windpipe. So it emerges from the larynx. Okay, and down below in the neck. Okay, so what is the location of it? You can say that. Okay, and it is somewhat covered by a thyroid gland also, and its walls are strengthened by, so it contains C-shaped cartilages. It contains C-shaped cartilages. Okay, and we can see that this part, incomplete part, this part is at the back side. So we can say that the incomplete part of the rings being on the back side. Okay, the rings provide flexibility. Now what is the function of the rings provide flexibility and keep the trachea distended permanently, so that the that the structure or the trachea may not collapse itself. Okay, now the next one is our bronchi. So we have done that. Now the trachea is divided into two bronchi. Okay, and singular we can say bronchi as bronchus. Okay, so close to the lungs, the trachea divides into two tubes that are known as bronchi, singular bronchus, and these enter the respective lungs. Okay, on entering the lungs, each bronchus divide into, see, this is our trachea, this is our trachea, and it is divided into, we can say, it is divided into two bronchi, and these bronchi are divided into secondary bronchi on the each side, but I'm drawing at one end. Okay, at one side. So they are divided into secondary bronchi, then they are divided into tertiary also, secondary, tertiary. After tertiary, they are divided into bronchioles. They are divided into bronchioles, and then bronchioles are divided into alveolus. You must learn that. First of all, bronchi, then secondary bronchi, then tertiary bronchi, then bronchioles, and at last air sacs or alveoli. Okay, so see, this contains, trachea contains C-shaped, bronchi contains C-shaped, secondary bronchi contains C-shaped, tertiary bronchi contains C-shaped ring, but bronchioles and air sacs doesn't contain C-shaped rings. Okay, you must keep that in mind. Now secondary bronchi, which further divided into still finer means this is a very much small tertiary bronchi, the cartilaginous rings as those present on the trachea are also present on the smaller bronchi to keep them distended. But bronchioles are subsequent still finer tubes of tertiary bronchi which acquire, so the diameter of bronchioles is only 1 millimeter. Okay, and they are without the cartilage rings. Okay, and by repeated branching or dividing them, then the bronchioles are ultimately or finally they end in a cluster of tiny air chambers. They are known as the air sacs or alveoli, and when we are speaking them in the singular, they are known as alveolus. Okay, so when I'm showing you the diagram, we will see a network of blood capillaries surrounds the wall of each alveolus, and we know that the walls of the alveoli, so the alveoli will be like this. Now the walls of alveoli are very much thin. Okay, they are only one celled thick and they are moist, so they allow gaseous transport. We will see how, okay, in the upcoming concepts topics we are going to see. Now a short note about lungs. So lungs provide enormous, means a huge amount of surface area, and the number of alveoli both in the two lungs of an adult human is about 700 million. Okay, and the total surface of the alveoli is about 70 square meter, which they have compared to it. Okay, now let me describe to you this diagram. So this is the larynx. Okay, we are starting. This is the trachea, and these are the ring of cartilages supporting the trachea. This one, now this trachea is divided into bronchi. This one is right and this one is left. This is the left lung and this is our right lung. Okay, and see that on the left lung there is a heart, so there is heart accommodated in the left lung. Okay, now next is our, we can see surrounding the lungs there are membrane, this membrane and this membrane. This is known as pleural membranes. These are known as pleural membranes. Okay, and you know that the fluid that is between them, the fluid that is accommodated in them is known as we can say pleural fluid. Okay, and these, we know that these are bronchioles, at last these are alveoli. Okay, so see, these are the intercostal muscles which help in the movement of the lungs during breathing, because we know that when we are breathing at that time our lungs move up and down, and the white portion which they have given is we can say rib in the cross section. So we know that there is a rib cage surrounding our lungs that helps or that prevents it from the injury. So this is a rib cage. Okay, and this I have taught you that this is the pleural fluid between the two membranes. Okay, now trachea. Now as we can see, trachea, then bronchi, this we have seen many times. Okay, and this is bronchiole and these are our alveolar duct. Now this portion is our alveolar duct and this is our alveolus, and we can see that this alveolus is surrounded by very fine capillaries. So now we are going to study the gas exchange in an alveolus. Okay, so this is a very much main concept. You must understand this wholeheartedly. So let's see. First of all, एक फ्लो चार्ट अपने दिमाग में बनाओ कि हमारा जो डीऑक्सीजनेटेड, पहले हमारा जो ब्लड डीऑक्सीजनेटेड जो ब्लड है, अनप्योरीफाइड ब्लड है, वो कहाँ से आता है? हमारी बॉडी से। बॉडी से कहाँ जाएगा? वो ब्लड जाएगा हमारे हार्ट में। कहाँ जाएगा? हमारे हार्ट में जाएगा वो ब्लड। ठीक है, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि वो हार्ट क्या करता है? पंप करता है ब्लड को और उसको प्योरीफाई करने का काम करता है। पर बेसिकली वो हार्ट नहीं कर रहा होता, वो कर रहे होते हैं लंग्स, पर हम हार्ट कहते हैं। ठीक है, हार्ट के अंदर क्या होता है? हार्ट के अंदर हमारा होता है सबसे पहले राइट ऑरिकल। ठीक है, इसको ध्यान से समझना, राइट ऑरिकल होता है। उसके अंदर क्या होता है? वो ब्लड इकट्ठा हो रहा होता है, डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड। फिर जो राइट ऑरिकल है वो अपने आप को ओपन करती है और वो ब्लड किसको दे देती है? राइट वेंट्रिकल को। राइट वेंट्रिकल को। ओके, राइट ऑरिकल से राइट वेंट्रिकल, ये हम पढ़ेंगे भी, बट नाउ यू कैन सी है। अब राइट वेंट्रिकल से क्या होगा, एक मेन पल्मनरी आर्टरी निकलेगी, पल्मनरी आर्टरी, ठीक है। हमेशा जो गंदा खून होता है, अनप्योरिफाइड डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड, वो कौन लेके जाती है, पल्मनरी आर्टरी लेके जाती है। इज इट क्लियर टू यू? सो पल्मनरी आर्टरी इस ब्लड को कहाँ पे लेके जाएगी, वो इसको लेके जाएगी लंग्स में। कहाँ पे लेके जाएगी, लंग्स में, ठीक है। और पल्मनरी आर्टरी क्या होगी, ये डिवाइड हो जाएगी, ठीक है। जैसे 2 लंग्स होती है ना, तो वो ऐसे डिवाइड हो जाएगी यहाँ पे जाके, ठीक है। पर हम अभी एक लेते हैं, ठीक है, कि एक के अंदर कैसा होता है। सो पल्मनरी आर्टरी जाएगी लंग्स के अंदर। लंग्स के अंदर सबसे पहले वो क्या जाएगी, ब्रोंकाई के अंदर, हमें पता है। फिर सेकेंडरी के आगे वो किसके पास जाएगी, टर्शरी, फिर ब्रोंकियोल्स, और लास्ट में जाके वो कहाँ, किसके पास मिलेगी, वो मिलेगी हमें एल्वियोलस के पास। कहाँ पे, एल्वियोलस के पास, मीन्स ये हमारा एल्वियोलस है, ठीक है। ये हमारा एल्वियोलस का डायग्राम है। हमारा एल्वियोलस कुछ ऐसा होता है, ठीक है। फिर वो एल्वियोलस के क्या करेगी, मान लो एल्वियोलस है, इसके सराउंड कैपिलरीज घुमाएगी, उससे ब्लड प्योरीफाई हो जाएगा। एल्वियोलस क्या करता है, एक्चुअली में ब्लड प्योरीफाई करता है। जब ब्लड प्योरीफाई हो जाएगा तब क्या होगा, ब्लड प्योरीफाई होने के बाद जो हमारी जो प्योरीफाई ब्लड होगा वो कौन लेके जाती है, वो लेके जाती है पल्मनरी वेन्स। वेन्स जो होती हैं वो प्योरीफाई और ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड लेके जाती हैं। वो जो ब्लड है वो कहाँ पे लेके जाएंगी, वो अब लेके जाएंगी लेफ्ट के अंदर। राइट में तो डीऑक्सीजनेटेड होता है हमारे हार्ट के, पर वो लेके जाएंगी लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल के पास, और फिर कहाँ पे लेके जाएंगी, वो लेफ्ट ऑरिकल के पास, ठीक है। मीन्स इसका मतलब क्या है कि वो अभी उनको कहाँ पे लेके गए, हार्ट पे, ठीक है, हार्ट पे। और हार्ट से फिर कहाँ पे जाएगा, हमारी बॉडी के अंदर ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड। सो बॉडी से डीऑक्सीजनेटेड आया, ये सारी प्रोसेस हुई और ऑक्सीजनेट हो गया, ठीक है। अब इस डायग्राम के अंदर देखते हैं। सो अब आप देखो कि ये कैपिलरीज हैं, ठीक है, ये वाली और ये इनर वाली, ये सारी क्या है, कैपिलरी है, बहुत थिन है, ठीक है, बहुत थिन है। यहाँ से ब्लड आ रहा है पल्मनरी आर्टरी से, पर हमें इसकी हिस्ट्री पता है कि ये कहाँ से आया, ये हमारी बॉडी से आया, बॉडी से हमारे हार्ट में आया, हार्ट में कहाँ पे आया, हमारे राइट ऑरिकल, फिर राइट वेंट्रिकल, और फिर पल्मनरी आर्टरी से लंग्स के अंदर आया, और लंग्स से जाके हमारे कहाँ तक आया, हमारे एल्वियोलस तक आया। हमें इसकी हिस्ट्री पता है, नो कंफ्यूजन। ये ब्लड अब एंटर हुआ, ठीक है, दीज आर आवर आरबीसीज। ये ब्लड हमारा एंटर हुआ, और क्या होगा कि हमें पता है कि हमारी एयर कहाँ से आ रही है, हमारी एयर कहाँ से आ रही है, नोज, फेरेंक्स, लैरिंक्स, ट्रैकिया, फिर उसके बाद ब्रोंकाई, और फिर लंग्स, और फिर एल्वियोलस तक हमारी वो एयर आ रही है। उस एयर के अंदर क्या है, उस एयर के अंदर ऑक्सीजन है, तो वो ऑक्सीजन भी हमारे अंदर आ गया, ठीक है, हमारे एल्वियोलस के अंदर वो ऑक्सीजन आ गया। अब क्या होगा, हमारा जो ये एल्वियोलस है, दिस इज अवर एल्वियोलस, ठीक है, इसकी जो हमने पढ़ी थी, इसकी भी एक सिंगल लेयर होती है, ठीक है, सिंगल मेम्ब्रेन होता है जो कि बहुत थिन होता है। तो क्या होगा, ये जो ऑक्सीजन है ये हमारे ब्लड के अंदर चला जाएगा ताकि हमारा ब्लड प्योरीफाई हो सके, क्योंकि ये कैसा ब्लड है, ये डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड है। तो हमारा जितना भी ऑक्सीजन है एयर का वो ब्लड के अंदर चला जाएगा। इज इट क्लियर टू यू? और फिर क्या होगा, जो हमारे ब्लड का कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड है वो हमारे एल्वियोलस के अंदर आ जाएगा, और एल्वियोलस से हमारे कहाँ चला जाएगा, हमारे लंग्स के अंदर चला जाएगा। लंग्स से फिर कहाँ जाएगा, हमारे फिर वो अपोजिट हो जाएगा, ठीक है, लंग्स से हमारे जाएगा ट्रैकिया, ट्रैकिया से हमारे लैरिंक्स, फेरेंक्स, और नोज से बाहर निकल जाएगा। ये बहुत सिंपल चीज़ है, ठीक है। तो हमने कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड निकाल दिया, ऑक्सीजन हमारे ब्लड को प्योरीफाई हमने कर दिया, ऑक्सीजनेटेड कर दिया। अब क्या होगा, अब जो हमारा ब्लड है वो कहाँ जाएगा, मैंने कहा था कि जो प्योरीफाई ब्लड है वो कौन लेके जाता है, पल्मनरी वीन। तो ब्लड पल्मनरी वीन से अब कहाँ जाएगा, हमारे हार्ट तक। हार्ट पे कहाँ जाएगा, लेफ्ट ऑरिकल, लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल, और हार्ट से फिर हमारी पूरी बॉडी में, ठीक है। फिर क्या होगा, पूरी बॉडी में हमारा ब्लड घूम के आएगा, फिर से क्या हो जाएगा, वो डीऑक्सीजनेटेड, फिर से वही प्रोसेस हो जाएगी, ठीक है। आ रही है बात समझ में? आई होप कि ये चीज़ आपको क्लियर है। Now let's see the protective inner lining of our respiratory passage, ठीक है। हमने देखा कि हमारे नोज के अंदर नसल चैम्बर के अंदर हमारे क्या आते हैं, हेयर्स और म्यूकस ग्लैंड्स से, ठीक है। पर उसके नीचे जब हम आते हैं लैरिंक्स पे, ट्रैकिया पे, ब्रोंकाई पे, ब्रोंक्यूल्स पे, वहाँ पे क्या होता है, सिलिएटेड एक एपिथेलियम की लेयर होती है, ठीक है, जिन्हें हम सीलिया भी कहते हैं, ठीक है। ये भी हेयर लाइक स्ट्रक्चर होते हैं, बहुत ही ये भी बहुत ज़्यादा थिन होते हैं। ये पूरे लाइफ टाइम मोशन के अंदर रहते हैं। क्यों रहते हैं, लेट्स सी। सो जो हमारे ये सेल्स हैं, इनका नाम याद रखना, जो हमारे गॉबलेट सेल है, ये म्यूकस बनाते हैं, ठीक है। फिर ये यहाँ तक आता है म्यूकस, और जो ये सेल्स है ये क्या करते हैं, मूव करते हैं ताकि हमारा म्यूकस हमारे वी कैन से माउथ तक पहुंच सके, ओके, माउथ तक पहुंच सके। ओके, नाउ लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड। So afterwards, now we are on the base, we can say last topic, that is our lungs, ठीक है। अब हम कहाँ तक पहुँच गए, लंग्स तक। सो लंग्स क्या है, पेयर ऑफ स्पॉन्जी हैं और इलास्टिक ऑर्गन है। ये क्या है, इलास्टिक ऑर्गन है, जो किससे बना हुआ है, एयर सैक्स से, ठीक है। और दे आर कनेक्टिंग ब्रोंक्यूल्स या फिर ब्लड वेसल्स, ओके। सो नाउ the two lungs are roughly, we can say they are cone shaped, okay, because they are tapering at the top and broad at the bottom, okay. So the left lung has 2 lobes, but the right has 3 lobes, okay. And now the left lung is slightly smaller in size when we are comparing to the right one. Why? Because it accommodates the heart in between, that's why. Now what are the membranous covering of the, we can say, lung? So we have studied the pleural, okay, pleural membranes, but I have at the time told you that there are 2 pleural membranes, okay. So the inner one is known as visceral pleura and the outer one is known as parietal pleura, and the fluid between them is known as pleural fluid, okay. And what is the function of it, that it provides lubrication for free movement of expanding and contracting the lungs, okay. And the lungs occupy the greater part of the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity is the chest cavity, okay, the cavity above the diaphragm. So they are located close to the inner surface of the, so now this is the location of the lung. So they are located close to the inner surface of the thoracic wall, and the lower bases closely rest at the diaphragm, okay. So blood supply is the last topic for today's class. Blood supply we have done, okay. Right auricle से कहाँ जाता है, deoxygenated जो blood है वो right auricle से कहाँ जाएगा, it goes to the right ventricle, और फिर right ventricle से वो कहाँ जाएगा, lungs के अंदर जाएगा through पल्मनरी आर्टरी, ओके। और पल्मनरी आर्टरी क्या करेगी, डिवाइड करती रहेगी ब्रांचेस के अंदर, ठीक है। लंग्स के अंदर पहले ब्रोंक्यूल्स, फिर ब्रोंकाई, ऐसे चलती रहेगी, और फिर लास्ट में वो क्या, हमारे एयर सैक्स एल्वियोली तक पहुंच जाएगी। जब ब्लड क्या हो जाएगा, प्योरीफाई हो जाएगा, तो वहाँ से पल्मनरी वेन निकलेगी, फिर वापस से लंग से बाहर निकलेंगे और ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड को लेफ्ट ऑरिकल के अंदर लाएंगे हमारे हार्ट के, और फिर हार्ट से हमारी बॉडी के अंदर पहुंचाएंगे, ओके। सो दिस इज आई थिंक क्लियर टू यू, ओके। लेट मी टेल यू वन मोर थिंग. So we are on this diagram, okay. So this is the diaphragm, okay. This is the diaphragm. What is the function of diaphragm? First of all, see, upper one is our thoracic cavity, downward is abdominal cavity, okay. So it separates the thoracic cavity with the abdominal cavity, okay. Second one, it keeps the lungs in the shape, it gives support to them, okay. So these are the functions of the diaphragm. If they are asked in the exam, then you can write it clearly, okay. So I hope this chapter, this portion which we have studied today is clear to you. So if you get this video helpful, then you can leave a comment downside, is it helpful for you or not. And if there is any type of doubt, okay, I tried my best to understand you all the complex concepts that are there in this chapter. But if there is any doubt, okay, any query in your mind, then you can leave that in the comment section. I must be reading that, okay. So if you love watching this video, then you can like the video and share it with all your friends who are finding this chapter difficult, okay. And also you can subscribe to our channel Icse Easy Learn, so that you may get you may be notified, or you get the notifications if there is a new video. So bye bye, meet you in the next video.